Hello, my lovelies. Thank you for tuning in to the Self Love Witch podcast. I am your host, Kim. Welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. You're gonna love it here. Okay, we talk all things magic, protection, just protecting your own energy, all that good stuff, and just keeping yourself aligned to where you're not imposed by the BS of the outer world and just people in general. And so today brings me to this topic that I want to talk about, focused on spiritual hygiene. Because within my past week, I have experienced a lot of different interactions just with different kinds of people. And especially when you're in the dating scene, you're going to meet so many different kinds of people, making friends, moving to a new city, all that good stuff, just getting yourself out there. And I kind of slacked on my spiritual hygiene for a little bit. And sad to say, you don't notice until you're like practically completely dirty and you have no idea why your mood is so off. You have no idea why your body just feels off. You have no idea why things just seem to be going all out of whack. But there are always signs, that keep us or kind of wake us up to like, hey, you're dirty. You need to cleanse yourself now. So I wanted today's episode to be focused on that because I feel like it's something that I neglected for a little bit and I didn't notice because, when you're in a good mood for a little bit so long and you don't really notice that you are not using the best hygiene practices when it comes to energy because you're just fixated on just having a good time or just, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to start with just saying, why should we spiritually cleanse? So I feel like spiritual cleansing is very important because not only does it protect your aura, it also clears any blockages that can be imposed from, yourself or just from other people. I was reading this book and it was talking about how, I can't recall the name, but it was talking about how your aura literally can sometimes have little, which way do I want to call it? Little chisels in it, little like kind of like a glass that has broken pieces around the rim. It can kind of look like that over time if you're not checking it and if you're not making sure that you have protection all around and that your aura is of your own energy. Especially if you're around a lot of people a lot because you can tend to pick up on their energy a lot, especially if you're intimate with anyone or if you touch a lot of people or anything like that. Anything where you're exchanging energy, anything that influences your mood definitely does have an effect on your aura. So, and even any places that you walk into that just are not, within your frequency or within the frequency that you are trying to achieve, it definitely does cause an issue there. So that definitely piggybacks on, how it affects our environment. I mean, how our aura is affected by, just our environment rather than just things that we typically feel that we have to have like interactions and stuff that will cause us to have a messed up aura. But no, sometimes it's just walking into certain places and spaces. So my next point also, why should we spiritually cleanse? Envy and jealousy. A lot of people think that it is how can I put this? A lot of people think that it is something that is done completely overtly and you can identify jealousy right then and there. But truth be told, a lot of the jealousy that really does cause a lot of issues in people's life is because they could not see it and because they could not sense that it was jealousy or they cannot sense that it was a malicious intent or malicious energy around them. A lot of them pretend to be your friends. A lot of them are your own family. A lot of them are people that have literally been there with you from the beginning. So you really have to be mindful of that. Despite how much you love a person, despite how much you enjoy a person, you have to be aware of how things, the cause and effects of things. You have to be aware of who's around, how things go. You You have to be aware of when someone's doing something, how it goes, how it doesn't go. You have to pay attention to the patterns because, unfortunately, the only thing that is constant is just change. So I'm not telling you to not trust people. I'm just telling you to be aware that perspectives and energies can always shift, can always change. And a lot of times, a lot of negative energies are very silent because that is how deceit, runs amok because it's not done overtly. It's done very in a sneakyish kind of manner. So when you're constantly around someone like that who has that energy towards you and you don't know, you have no idea how your blessings and how blockages can come forth because you're opening up to this person. Whole time their energy is completely silent towards you when it comes to the malicious intent. So you can't be so open with that. You don't really know who is genuinely there a lot of times without, having that true discussion, in which a lot of people don't like to have with another person. And not only that, but your manifestations can also be affected if you are not spiritually cleansing properly or, protecting yourself, protecting, your deepest things. I definitely agree now more than ever that if you care about something, keep it to yourself. Anything that you hold sacred, you keep within a sacred space. For instance, my altar, my most sacred possessions, I keep them in a sacred space. I don't let other people see them. I don't let other people play with them or anything like that. And I feel like that's what we need to do when it comes to our goals and our dreams, because those are very precious to us. Because they're not tangible, objects as of yet. We sometimes don't really handle them with the most care, and you do need to handle them with the utmost care because those are things that you're trying to give birth to. It's like a baby. So definitely that's also a good reason why you should spiritually cleanse, because you want to keep that clear pathway for your manifestations to always have a path to unfold before you. And next, another reason for cleansing and spiritually protecting yourself is, it allows for a sound mind and clarity, clarity of direction, clarity of thought. I was thinking of how we're in a car and how we have these wind wipers, and we don't really pay attention to how useful they are until like it's raining, or or when they're not working properly when it's raining. But we always realize, okay, they're a minimum, they're just very small thing, but they are so important. Cleansing to keep the view properly within good standing, because if we cannot see properly, if that windshield is always dirty, if that windshield is always smudged, if it's always just having too much on it, just besides of what is needed, then you can't see. You can't see clearly. You can't hear clearly. I feel like your intuition is definitely off when you are not cleansing yourself, because you have so many different energies on you. So that is definitely important. Clarity of mind and just good mental health, in my opinion. Cleansing that aura is definitely very important. And then, so this brings me into practices and rituals that I want to get into, because I realize I don't typically discuss rituals and practices, but I want to get into that because I feel like, we're all here because we are magical women, magical men. So I want to get into some things that help me, and I feel like could help other people if you guys haven't. And so let's get into it. So for spiritual hygiene practices, I feel like you should always choose a day where you cleanse yourself, weekly or daily. And I say that really depends on what kind of life you're living, what kind of things you have to do on a day-to-day basis, if you have to be around other people consistently. For me, I get to work from home, so I'm not around different kinds of energies a lot. So that doesn't call for me, in my opinion, to cleanse every single day, because like I said, I'm around my energy a lot of the time. Now, if I were just around different people, or even just if you do work from home, sometimes you could live with other people that just vex your spirit. Sometimes you could just be around or within an environment. Your energy may be fine, but you're within an environment that is really just not very, counter intuitive with your, with your energy and where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do, and just your peace of mind. So I definitely call for, and I'm definitely pro cleansing as much as you feel you need to, for sure. I don't ever feel you can cleanse too much, in my opinion. So definitely choose a day that's good for you, that allows for you to do it with a lot of intention, allows for you to be within a good mental state so that you can properly you know, cleanse yourself with the right amount of not only attention, but also the right amount of just the right mind, the right mindset. You know what I mean? I don't think you ever want to cleanse yourself when you are not in a good space, but sometimes that's when you really need it. But you just want to make sure you know your intentions of doing it, and make sure you speak it over yourself. You know what I mean? Next, I feel like good spiritual hygiene, this is just a tip. Watching your nervous system. You want to pay attention to that fight or flight feeling. You want to pay attention to how you feel at all times, because your body is always giving you all the information you need. There have been times where I'm with myself 5 days straight. I'm feeling fine. I feel the same. I feel good. I'll go into a space and I will completely feel myself pulling back. I will pay attention to if someone comes close to me, and I'll kind of back away a little bit, and it doesn't register in my mind. There's a reason why I'm backing away from this person, and I don't understand why. Sometimes your body will recognize things before your mind does. And this is why I advocate for just being in tune with your entire vessel, your entire body, because mind, body, and soul, because your body gives you so many signs. So many signs. I remember one time when I was on a date with this guy, and we were chilling, it was a nice vibe or whatever. He kind of leaned in towards me. It was a good vibe the whole time, you know what I mean? He leaned in towards me, and my body, but I didn't even understand that my body was doing this, because I was feeling him, you know what I'm saying? But my body just stayed in position, kind of like backed away a little bit. And I kind of caught myself. I was like, dang, why am I so far away? Let me come forward. But then lo and behold, that connection within itself was not in alignment at all. And so I feel like our minds can play tricks on us. We could think that we could think that we know what's best, but sometimes our body really knows what's best. Sometimes your body is way smarter than you in some aspects, especially when it comes to energy. You'll notice sometimes you'll feel sick around certain people. You'll notice that, you get this urge to this mood to just automatically just be irritated, or you just don't want to go. You just feel like you've had energy all day, and then all of a sudden you don't have the energy. You don't want to go because it's this person, but you don't understand why. You have to pay attention to all of that, because it all, at the end of the day, is honestly trying to protect you. And I've seen this happen so many times, and I'm going to have another episode coming up this week about, spiritual protection, and talk about, the experiences I've had with just the signs and just paying attention, and how important intuition is, because it can save your life, literally. Literally can save your life. You have to pay attention to it. Yeah, that's one thing you need to be in tune with, is your body and your intuition. Key, very pivotal. So next, I feel like you should keep your home and your living space as clean as possible. I feel like a lot of clutter welcomes a lot of chaotic energy. I've definitely experienced both. I've experienced a well-cleaned home. I've experienced the peace and serenity that comes with it, the peace of mind, the ease of flow. I've studied a lot of feng shui, And I definitely agree with the teachings. I've also had my house a complete mess, and within that week, it was one of the most chaotic weeks that I ever experienced. And so I definitely vouch for keeping that space clean, keeping that space void of any blockages of energy or chi or flow. And, you know, definitely, I would definitely recommend getting into feng shui because it definitely holds a lot of basis. If you're into that, you know, the study of energy, the study of, you know, how to arrange your home, you know, how to do anything pretty much when it comes to your love life or your business or anything like that, I definitely advocate for it. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. And it's definitely cool to see how it plays out and you kind of see the difference when you kind of trust in the energy and you kind of, when you're very intentional with everything, it makes life more enjoyable. You enjoy the simple things because you realize that energy is always moving and that energy is always at play and it's always just waiting for your basic it's basically waiting for your direction. It's waiting for your order. You just have to know how to be in tune with it and know how to, you know, make it work for you, I feel. And next, it brings me to this point, which, you know, not only keeping your space clean, but putting yourself in clean spaces and around people with clean hands. I'm not talking about like someone who washes their hands. I mean, of course, you want to be around someone who washes their hands, but you want to make sure that the people you're around, their fruit are, you know, that their trees are bearing fruit. You know what I mean? And you want to make sure that these people don't have any bad karma on them. Because sometimes you could be in the wrong place, wrong time, because, you know, you're in the way of someone else's karma. You can be in spaces where you shouldn't even be, to be real, when it comes to energy and when it comes to just what you stand for and when it comes to, you know, what you know you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. Just try to always be in the mindset of doing what's best for you and start to fall in love with doing what's best for you. You know what I mean? That was huge for me, realizing, you know, it's fun to choose what's best for me because at the end of the day, I want to have the most enjoyable life experience I can. If I have to compromise my safety, my health, my peace, my aura to be in certain spaces, I just feel like that's too much to compromise. You know, and it took a while because I feel like when we get older, we're taught that we need to choose. You know, you could do it. This is like you could do it all. Like you could do it all, and it's like you can literally do whatever you want. But literally doing whatever you want, it also comes with consequences. You know what I mean? We have the free will to do whatever we so choose. But with everything comes a price. You know, sometimes you have to evaluate what price you're willing to pay. You know what I mean? For instance, for me, I love going to bars, you know, here and there. But I used to go every weekend. And I could not keep up with that. You know, with the drinking, I could not. I'm a lightweight, honey. I can't do it. I'll have like one mojito, call it a night. But I was noticing when I was going out clubbing, you know, all the energies that you're around, and plus, you know, drunk. That's another thing. When people are drunk, there is, I believe, when people get drunk, a lot. I don't want to say everybody, but I definitely feel like that's, you know, they're easily accessible to be possessed, or it's like a different spirit, a different energy comes out in them. A lot of them. And when you're in spaces where there's a lot of that going on, it's like, for me, I don't feel safe. And for me, like, I've just seen some crazy stuff go down. So I prefer to not be in spaces where a lot of people are like not in their complete right mind, because I'm not going to be caught in the middle of your mess, period. That's just my opinion on that. I'm not saying I wouldn't go to places where people are drinking. I just limit, you know, how much I do, because at the end of the day, you know, if you're always around that, You know, sometimes that's a little much. That could be a little much, and just for me. I'm just speaking for myself, but that's a bit much, especially when you're trying to have this like high energy and be completely conscious of energy, at all times. Not on this overzealous, type of tip, but just realizing like, wow, everything is energy. Wow, energy really responds to me and my choices and how I speak and how I move. So, you start to get very intentional with the things you do and, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy. So I don't particularly enjoy being around all of that. So, yeah, that's just me saying put yourself in spaces that are clean and around people with clean hands, just people with good energy. And so my next point is when it comes to rituals and altar work, I feel like protection work, some things that I can, suggest is definitely creating you a talisman. And if you don't know what a talisman is, that's pretty much you basically getting like I'm gonna say like a mini satchel or, some type of, what do I want to call it? Type of mini bag, something you could carry on your person, where you completely intentionally put items in there for your protection and for your safety. You know, it's definitely a known fact for me, for many people who study magic and many people who study hoodoo and things like that. I understand, and even Native American spirituality as well. Just having that protection talisman or amulet on you. You know, I'm definitely for it. I made one for the first time, I made my own back in 2020. And I live by creating talismans for yourself. Something that you create for yourself with intentions to protect you and to keep you safe from harm's way and to carry with you on your person when you go out in public or when you go around unknown energies. And even if you don't have that, I just say always doing a prayer for yourself because you don't know what the day has, in store for you or what's ahead of you. So I definitely feel like you want to always bring God with you in a sense, or protection with you in a sense. And, besides that, also like smudging, spiritual baths, that goes with cleansing yourself weekly or daily, however you want to do it. I'm pro smoke cleansing. That's just because what I prefer and how it affects me as a person. I love smudging, and I also love baths. Also, if you don't have necessary time for that, you can create a mini spray bottle where you bless the water and you anoint it with the oils of your choosing for protection. Certain herbs for your protection, and you just spray it on yourself daily. Before you leave the house or before you do any ritual work or anything like that. I definitely advocate for that too, because it's all about your intention. It's all about where you let your energy flow at the end of the day. So I definitely feel like those are some great alternatives as well. And yeah, I'm up here scrolling down the list, y'all, because I was like, I am finna touch on all of this. But yeah, that was my episode. That's all I have today for protection work and protecting yourself spiritually and smudging yourself and keeping your energy field clean and as clear as possible as you can. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we're learning, we're living every single day. We're trying to figure out, what's good for us, what's bad for us, what works, what doesn't work, what our energy responds to, all this good stuff we're learning about life. So be easy on yourself, but don't play about yourself. Do not play about yourself. Don't play about your energy. Don't play about your aura. Don't play about your person, period. When I say your person, I mean you. Definitely gotta look out for yourself for sure. Because, at the end of the day, everyone's not looking out for each other, and unless you have community, but you really have to find your community. In the meantime, learn to protect yourself, not just physically, but also spiritually, also mentally. Steer clear of narcissists, steer clear of gaslighters, steer clear of people who don't give you safe spaces to express yourself, naturally, and just protect your softness. Like as the previous episode spoke about, protect your softness, protect your right to feel, protect your right to be, protect your right to exist. You know what I mean? And much love to all of you. Please follow me on Instagram at the Self Love Witch Podcast. My personal Instagram is Intentional Mommy. If you guys have any suggestions, I always say please email me at the Self Love Witch Podcast at gmail.com. I'm always open to episode suggestions. I also want to start taking interviews with some lovely magical men and women. I'm going to be starting that maybe around October sometime. I really want to get into that. I'm really excited for that. So definitely, if you're interested, please let me know. Let me know what you're about. Tag your Instagram, your business or your organization, whatever you have. I want to talk to you guys. I want to get to know you guys. And again, I hope you guys have a blessed day. Don't let nobody play with you. And have a wonderful day. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.